Hello, today we will discuss philosophy and ethics in research. Human beings are blessed species because they are given additional faculty of thinking and reasoning. When the initial struggle for survival ended, humans started to think about purpose and promise of their lives. They started building myths in order to understand natural phenomena. As for survival, collaborative efforts were needed. Community conventions and accepted norms of behavior were formed. All throughout, intelligent and inquisitive people were exploring knowledge for wisdom, whether humans were chained to the destiny, whether all actions and outcomes were independent, whether humans were privileged to be free or condemned to be free. All such questions were probed. Pursuit of knowledge was categorized as pursuit of ideas in logic, ethics, and aesthetics. In Hindu culture in India, words like Satyam, Shivam, and Sundaram were coined. It was believed that the way to find purpose in life was to constantly interrogate and redefine existing canons. Maybe this is why in mythology we find archetypes of questioning people like myth of Sphinx and Oedipus, Yaksh and Yudhishthir, Nachiketa and Yam, or even relatively modern stories and myths of Vikram and Vetal or Akbar and Birbal. Similarities in all these myths were that they were based on someone asking questions and someone answering those questions. Thus, some people retired to the solitude of mountains or forests to investigate the purpose of life, while some continued amidst the material world and spent their lives reasoning for the human existence and experience. We are living in the world of artificial intelligence and Industry 4.0, and machines can also reason now and do intelligent tasks. What may still be of relevance for humans is their ability to pursue wisdom, and therein lies the importance of philosophy. The word philosophy is broadly defined as the love for wisdom. When people seek to understand and define the basic truth of existence and one's relation to the world and one's relation to the other, pursuit of philosophical investigation starts. Sutras like Tattvam Asi or Satyam Param Dhimahi might have come out of this journey. As a discipline, philosophy is divided broadly into metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, and logic. Let us try to understand what these branches mean. Metaphysics tries to investigate the reality which does not change. It tries to define how the world is. The questions like existence of God or godly, it explores the ultimate truth. It investigates the correlation of mind and body, and it tries to understand causality and the concept of free will. Some people hold ontology and metaphysics the same. However, ontology tries to ask what entities exist. Metaphysics explains what they are. Epistemology deals with what is to be known and how it is to be known. It explores the meaning of knowledge. It asks whether we know that we don't know, or how much we know, how do we know what we know, and how do we justify that we know things. Objectivist epistemology assumes that reality exists outside the individual mind and can be defined with external validity. It focuses its attention on reliability of what is found. Constructionist epistemology believes that truth can be found with our engagement with reality. It highlights the importance of contextual understanding of the topic. Subjectivist epistemology believes that truth can be individually decoded by imposing meaning on phenomenon. The branch of ethics focuses on what ought to be known, what should be the desired way of living, what is good and what is bad, whether the norms of morality are static or dynamic, and how each human should behave with others. Logic is given to reasoning. It decides what is the ideal way of reasoning or arguing. It questions the existing norms of accepted behavior and tries to substantiate truth with arguments. Contrary to the modern notion of philosophy as being boring or contradicting itself, philosophy is extremely important for a researcher in academics as it teaches one to closely observe phenomenon, read with open eyes, write logically, and think critically. Unlike accepting truth as is given or perceived, philosophy encourages one to investigate and synthesize various observations. It also helps one to judge good or poor reasoning. Today, in all competitive exams, logical reasoning constitutes a major section. In all leading B schools, ethics forms the curriculum, and all academic institutions advocate moving beyond our personal opinions or judgments formed by borrowing others' opinion without questioning. For a researcher, investigating personal opinions and biases is critical not to be trapped in one's own making. Knowledge must be gained by methodical investigation and cognition. Talking about ethics, it tries to explore personal and community happiness. Questions like, is it right to be dishonest for a noble cause? Should a soldier kill in a war? Is it wrong to think that the material success is necessary motivation are asked in ethics. It ascertains the moral obligation of a human being towards the planet. Ethics, in a way, has freed morality from religion and the interpretation by the religious controllers. Peter Singer, in an article in Britannica, explains this paradigm. He says that a modern theist might say that since God is good, God only approves of good behavior and disapproves negative action. In saying so, the theist is tacitly admitting that standard of goodness is independent of God. Thus, a paradox is created that God approves of God. To continue religious shackles on human behavior, it was predicted that good behavior, as is defined in religious books, is rewarded and the contrary behavior is punished in hell. If we investigate the beginning of ethical codes during Stone Age, we gather that some form of control was exercised on human free will. Social life goes for a toss if everyone makes individual and unrestricted decision. There is thus the seeming struggle between altruism and survival syndrome. The question is still debated in the business world today. Thomas Friedman, when he said that the only responsibility of modern corporations is to the shareholder, he ignored the welfare for the larger section of invisible stakeholders. Where full altruism is not possible, principles of reciprocity evolve. Peter Singer believes that reciprocity thrives when the cost of helping is less than the benefit of being helped by others. This happens, he quotes, as long as animals will not gain in the long run by cheating. That is to say, by receiving favors without receiving them. I have heard Stanford Breakfast Lecture Series talk by George Zimmer, and he cites an example of an entrepreneur and a friend of an entrepreneur getting lost in Alaska and being approached by the polar bear. Entrepreneur immediately drops his bag and ties his sneakers. His friend asks him how it would benefit him, as even with his Nikes on, he can't outrun the polar bear. Entrepreneur tells his friend that he need not outrun the polar bear, but he needs to outrun his friend. Zimmer says that there can be a possible alternate end to this story in which they luckily find a tree and one climbs the tree with the help of the other and then helps the other to climb the tree, the one who is on ground, and both survive to tell the benefit of reciprocity to the posterity. Researcher is obliged in the process of research to follow the principle of reciprocity. Ethical behavior guides one to use the resources available and also acknowledge credits properly. No research can evolve without measuring evidence springing from what is available and discussed, but at the same time, each research must, in a significant way, contribute to the collective human society. This fosters the spirit of benefiting, the loyalty from an individual to the larger invisible group. Many people question the objective moral principles and believe ethical codes are culturally shaped and are applicable only in a societal context where they emanate. This rather substantiates the importance of ethics in pursuit of knowledge, as it is an open-ended pursuit. It is prescriptive, not descriptive. People are told that in a given situation how broadly human society has behaved and what has been the outcome. Still, there is a scope of reasoning and acting otherwise. David Resnick, in an article, "What is Ethics in Research and Why It is Important?" explains that two people could agree that murder is wrong but disagree about the morality of abortion because they have different understanding of what it means to be a human being. Thus, even when a researcher finds apparent, simplified, and prescriptive outcomes from the available literature, one can still extend rational, argumentative standpoint and derive different outcome. Although ethical connotations and impacts for disciplines where human participants are not directly involved and are not at any medical or psychological risk remains less discussed, the growing concern for such impact on the socio-cultural fabric has recently been considered. SATORI, which stands for Stakeholders Acting Together on the Ethical Assessment of Research and Innovation report on ethics assessment in different fields, mentioned the case study of RES at a Faculty of Humanities, which is based on 4 R's: relevance, responsibility, respect, and reciprocity. Aim of any research is to establish for society a new perspective on knowledge or truth. There is an obligation for a researcher to derive this angle with a lot of effort and staying away from manipulating data. Since the researcher engages in reading the already available details in data, the researcher is engaged in a collaborative work. Thus, any research is an outcome of collaboration with known and unknown researchers. For the funded research, there is another ethical angle. As it is being funded, therefore, the principle of accountability has to be fulfilled. Research is a socially organized quest for the new and better insight, says Guidelines for the Research Ethics in Social Sciences, Law and Humanities in Norway. In research of humanities, interpretations of various factors may be open-ended, but they don't relieve the researcher from the duty to avoid arbitrary conclusions. A scholar's position to a theory must not color the investigation and interpretation. Most researchers approach the supervisor with a preconceived hypothesis and conclusion and then get trapped in proving their approach right. There is an ethical obligation for a scholar to invest in objective study of contradictory opinions and also be open to one's own fallibility. National Committee for Research Ethics in the Social Sciences and Humanities in Norway, described with the acronym NASH, has released the guidelines that discuss thus: all disciplines are characterized by competing schools of thought and possibly even by disagreement on fundamental questions of scientific theory. Those responsible for the assessment of others' work must therefore be willing to seriously consider arguments and ways of thinking that are asserted by approaches other than their own. Also, the same guidelines hint that research in humanities or social sciences can often be politically controversial or non-accepting for certain sections of society. Researchers face pressure from an institution or a group. It quotes, research must be safeguarded against control from the inside or the outside that interferes with well-founded problems for discussion that are at loggerheads with particular financial, political, social, cultural, or religious interests and traditions. Role of funding or sponsoring agencies thus become critically important. It's not just enough that the fund is utilized for the larger societal benefit. Funding agencies that seem wanting in moral conduct should not be considered for funding in research. In January 2020, MIT Media Lab accepted having received donations from convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. This forced MIT to take action on one of the mechanical engineering professors, and he was sent on paid leave. This also made Joichi Ito, the director of the Media Lab, resign. Research that is focused on the marginals or vulnerable group or a person should ethically ensure that investigation and findings on sensitive matter does not further marginalize the subject and push the subject more on the periphery. Results and findings should not be presented in such a manner that they further investigate the oppressors and push the subjects for further atrocities or prejudice.